working, so you may have to just record it on your phone.
Oh, I have no storage.
Try to record to my phone. Well, then I have to just upload it.
It's going on.
Is it?
Yeah, my phone has no storage.
But it doesn't go into the cloud?
No, it worked.
We'll see. Let me double check here. Because we had some issues getting this live stream working last week. Are you sure it's working?
Yeah, it's live here and it's live over there.
You see it on your phone, though? Can you check on your phone? We want to just wait for one more person. No, I just want to make sure this is recording, because if it's not recording, then we have to.
Yeah, it's live.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone, virtually or here. This is sort of a more informal kind of question and answer session to introduce the Bioinformatics Master's Internship Summer Program that our speakers, Dr. Adam Labradorf and Dr. Dimitri Lafer, will be talking about as a partnership with the Genome Science Institute. They will spend the first half of this Q&A session introducing this program. And then in the second half of this session, I'll go over the pilot grant program, what we're thinking about in the GSI this year. It'll follow some of the same formats as previous year's pilot grants, but we want to get some feedback from the audience or virtually if you have questions. We'll be posting updates and notices on these initiatives that we're going to run this spring. So if you are tuning in online through the live stream, please put your questions through the chat and we'll monitor them. Otherwise, we will go through this presentation, and then if you are interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out to the GSI or to Dr. Labradorf and Dr. Lafer directly. Without much further ado, Adam, Dimitri.
Great. Thanks, Nelson. Great. So thanks so much for having us come and talk today. I'm going to be talking about, as Nelson mentioned, talking about our Bioinformatics Master's Summer Internship Program, which is a program that we created a number of years ago to help match master's students in our bioinformatics program with researchers around BU who have bioinformatics needs. So I'm Adam Labrador, for those of you who don't know me. I am an assistant professor in neurology. I also am director of graduate studies for the Bioinformatics Master's Program, as well as director of bioinformatics for the VA PTSD Brain Bank. And I've been at BU now for quite a few years working in this space of being a collaborator at first, working with bioinformatics, helping with bioinformatics across various labs in the entire university, and also working with master's students. So a little bit later, I'm going to introduce Dimitri Lafer, who has just come on board to help us enrich our internship programs. And then Joey Orofino, he's one of our staff members, also provides key mentorship during the internship program. So we'll talk about that later. So first, all of the information that I'm going to talk about today is on our website. It's listed here. I will this link will be throughout the presentation, so if you miss it, it will be throughout. As I mentioned, the Bioinformatics Master Summer Internship Program, or BMSIP, is a matchmaking program between the Bioinformatics Master's Program, where our master's students must do an internship as a part of their degree, and it matches them with researchers around BU who have bioinformatics needs, but may not have the expertise or the resources to bring those projects into fruition. So how it works is it's a semi-competitive process. So the way the program begins, it begins right around now. So in February, we open up a request for proposal, and the GSI helps us facilitate that for gathering proposals for internship projects from the community. So right now, if you're interested in submitting a proposal for a project, you're welcome to do so. I'll have how to apply information later. But briefly, PIs generate a short proposal. We have guidance and templates on how to do that. After those projects are submitted, we will gather the bioinformatics program. Our master's team gathers and looks at those internship projects and selects which ones are suitable, and I'll talk about that in a bit. After that, this is where the matchmaking part starts. We take those projects that are suitable, we advertise them to our master's students. This is right around the March timeframe. And we ask our students to not only respond to some questions about our curriculum to make sure that we are matching qualified students with their projects, but we also ask them for interest. And so we're matching our students based on their interest to the projects that get submitted. And we do all that internally. When that happens, after we've advertised and received feedback from our students, we select the top candidates per project, usually 3 or 4. And we have them write a CV and a cover letter for each one of those projects. And we organize those as packages. We share them with the PIs and the projects. And at that point, it's up to the PI to decide who, if any, of the candidates you interview. It's important that it is entirely up to the PI whether you choose to take on an intern or not. So during this time, you can arrange your interviews with your applicants as however you like, and then you decide, if any, who you would like to work with. Once those project matches happen, we can select awards. And one of the key features of BMSIP is that both the bioinformatics program and the GSI provide stipend support. So we have a limited number of stipends. In the past, historically, we've had around 12 or 13 that we fund. And so this is really, but from our perspective, we see this as a win-win-win. We are matching our students into really excellent projects with PIs within BU. And so we see it as an investment in our own community and our students to provide these stipends. And we also hope that that incentivizes labs out there, especially labs who maybe haven't done bioinformatics traditionally, to start incorporating some of these techniques into their research. But we select awards. So far, we've always been able to fund all of them. We haven't had to make hard choices because our resources are limited, but we do select awards, and after those awards are selected, that's when the internships begin. So that's generally the process up to internship start. Once the internship does start, our BMSIT team has a pretty structured approach to what happens over the summer. The internships are for 10 weeks, usually from the middle of May to the middle of August or so. And we organize meetings for just the BMSIP interns cohorts where they can present, share the research, ask questions. It's really a sort of a networking and cohort building exercise. And we provide this structure over the summer. PIs are expected to meet with their interns at least once every 2 weeks, hopefully more, but that is ultimately up to the PI, how often you contact with your intern. Now there's one more component to this. We recognize that some labs may not have the bioinformatics expertise in their labs that they need to actually help mentor these interns, and that is one of the functions that our team provides. So a limited number of these internships, Joey or Dimitri or myself will provide the mentorship, the bioinformatics mentorship for the intern in collaboration with the PI. And so we're really trying to incentivize increasing the footprint of genomics and bioinformatics research at BU by providing that mentorship, which has been key. So about projects, so if you might be interested, we do have some criteria for these projects. First off, they must be entirely computational. There's no wet lab work allowed. This is a requirement of the bioinformatics internship program, the bioinformatics master's program rather. It must primarily involve analysis of biological data, and this includes, if it has anything to do with high throughput sequencing, it definitely qualifies. We've had projects do medical imaging, biomedical imaging, AI, machine learning algorithms, but focused on the biomedical space. We've had some projects do biomedical health record analysis, so it's flexible in what the project may be about. However, it must be primarily biologically, biomedically oriented. Also critically, the data must exist prior to the internship. We don't want to have a situation where there's this really great project, but the data doesn't get produced until halfway through the summer, and the student doesn't have an opportunity to work with those data. But then finally, in terms of the focus of the projects, it can be biological discovery, traditional research projects. It can be bioinformatics algorithms development, if you are a lab that does that. And also just biological analysis software development, pipelines, and things of that sort, somewhere in between. So the scope is quite broad. And more specifically, the projects do need to involve the skills and techniques that we teach in the bioinformatics master's program. This is true of every internship that our students do through BMSIP or otherwise. Now, our master's program curriculum, briefly, covers a wide range of topics. We introduce basic bioinformatic algorithms and fundamental algorithms, including sequence alignment, multiple sequence alignment, phylogenetic analysis. We have a class that's molecular biology for bioinformaticians, which focuses on the computational thinking components, way of thinking about biology in that way. Much of our curriculum focuses on genomics and transcriptomics, particularly in the analysis of high-throughput sequencing data. We train students in Python, R, bash scripting. We use the BU shared compute cluster regularly in many of our classes, so that compute environment they will have experience with that if that's what you're using. We also train our students in workflow software. So Nextflow, this most modern biogenomics analysis pipelines are written in some sort of workflow software. We teach Nextflow, so this is a way that some of your analysis will be implemented, paired with reproducible research strategies. So we train our students in some of the tools that are important for reproducible research. This means tracking code via Git and GitHub repositories. It also means computational notebooks like R Markdown and Jupyter notebooks. So at the end of your project, you will have a set of resources that follow a set of guidelines such that you will have maximize your reproducible research. We also teach elementary statistics, data science, and machine learning, as well as an emphasis on data visualization, and then finally databases and basic web application development, both from Bazel, from Scratch standpoint, and also using R packages that, like R-Shiny, that allow easy translation of code into user interfaces that non-computational people may be able to use. We have about 50 master's students enrolled each year, so it's a relatively large pool. The administration is asking us to grow, so we are going to be adding about hopefully 10% enrollment increase per year. So it's a somewhat large pool that you would be drawing from. BMSIP in its current form has been around for 4 years now. We started off small, but we've been growing. And last year we had 13 projects total across a wide range of biological areas. We had algorithms development, cancer research, image analysis, electronic health record data, and all 13 of these projects were supported through stipends provided by the bioinformatics program and from the GSI. Thank you. This is just a snapshot of some of the projects that we have. All the projects that we have done so far are on our website, so if you're interested in seeing some of the more detail about the projects that we've done, feel free to check it out. And also, I wanted to shout out to the med school data science corps, so Chow, Jinying, and Ignat. They have partnered with us for the past 2 years to take on about half of our interns, and they provide the mentorship. So this is a relationship that we are trying to develop, where our interns work with the data science corps, who in turn supports the community in the ways that they do. So we're really trying to build a network effect of the genomics and bioinformatics capabilities here at BU through this collaboration and with the GSI. One really, a new thing that we did this year is at the end of the summer, we require each of our students to create an academic poster and then present it to the incoming MS class cohort. This was a really successful event. We got a lot of interest. It helped to build some community within our program, but also many of our projects, or the PIs who we've worked with, have had multiple projects year after year. And so one of our goals here is to develop not only this community, but also continuity from project to project, year to year within labs. And to that point, several of our interns from BMSIP have been hired into their labs at various points across our time here, which is one of our goals. One of the BMSIP mission is to, in part, retain talent here at BU, because we have some really excellent students come through our program who are really interested in biological research, and we would like to keep them here to continue that work as much as possible. So we consider these really great successes. So if you're interested in applying, all the information that you need is on our website. There's a how to apply section, and basically you can review the project criteria, which I've gone over. This is Chow. I just gave you a shout out, just missed you. Sorry. Right here.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, so the review the project criteria, the information on the website is a little bit more detailed than what I just described. We have a project proposal form. It's just a Word document that you can download. It's not hard, it's not meant to be long. But I asked you some questions that we need to know in order to advertise your projects to our master's students. And then we have a project submission form. You can do it all right here. So with that, that's all that I have for BMSIP. And now I wanted to pass it over to Dimitri, who has just been brought on as our internship guru. I can do this, or I can switch over. Which would you prefer?
Sure, I'll just go with yeah, so first of all, thanks for inviting me. Everything that Adam just mentioned, I'm still learning. So I've been brought into the program, but it's still an educational experience for me. So this is a slide from my introductory class, the class that I just realized that I lived for 10 years already at BU. And the reason why it was hiking and bioinformatics is actually twofold. So I asked my TA, instead of my experience, there are TA pictures here. I asked them to send the pictures, and all of us independently sent the hiking pictures. So since then we became instructors in hiking and bioinformatics. But then I thought that there is a more kind of like fundamental deep meaning into hiking and bioinformatics, because we're kind of like skimming on the surface in my specific class. We are covering a lot of bioinformatics, but not extremely deep, I would say. So it's a little bit like in the extreme of knowing everything about nothing, or knowing nothing about everything. So we're in the second extreme. Right, and the reason why I'm a guinea pig, which you can say here, is that I was in the first year of the BU Bioinformatics program, because I was interested in that for quite a while, and I wish we had this kind of curriculum that Adam just described, because, for example, R I had to learn afterwards, after my graduation from the program. Okay, and as you can see, my experience has some kind of signs of irrational exuberance. It's not exactly maybe what I planned for me. I wanted to have an academic career, but it happened in a different way. So I've had some teaching experience. I had experience in biotech and pharma, in startups, in consulting, worked as a staff scientist in Broad, etc., etc. And my basic original background is bench. So I'm a wet bench biologist. I worked on the bench for like 10 years. Okay, and I understand that. Thanks for bringing me up here. That this is just my introduction of myself as a new contact. Okay, one thing which I want to mention. We did have like hundreds of final projects in this BF 527 class. So in the end of the class, there is like a 2 to 3 week projects where a group of people choose research paper or choose some kind of algorithm and either ask some biological questions that were not asked in this paper, so they can supplement the paper, or maybe explain to us some algorithm that was not covered in the class. And I'm always amazed how they managed to succeed in this very little time, in 2 weeks, to make something that is actually quite interesting sometimes. And to an extent, this is mimicking advising to the internships. So that's what I'm expecting to do together with Joy and Adam. There are some projects that were more successful than others. So this is something that I published last year with Jessica, who is actually a faculty member at BU as well, but she was a student in my class because her grant required to take bioinformatics. And we applied a bioinformatics approach, a network approach, to searching for new mitochondrial genes, and we found some. As a matter of fact, we increased the number threefold, which I thought was pretty amazing. That's just another example of what we've done. And these are all slides from different lectures, actually, slightly modified. So this target ID by network connectivity, unknowingly to us, we replicated the Google PageRank algorithm, because the thinking about biological networks was exactly as Sergey Brin and Larry Page thought about the World Wide Web networks. Because we thought of interplay of the signals that are coming into some kind of protein, the signals that are coming out of the protein, and the interplay between them defines how similar the proteins to each other in the network, how similar their downstream effects. So that remains the property of Pfizer, but we also had a poster on that. And there were some other kind of like successful projects with my interns. And let me know if you're interested. I can talk more about that. But I just wanted to give you 2 examples, and basically that's how I expect the work will be done in the summer. The reason why I am here, I started asking BU Bioinformatics about the position at BU because I was interested in some specific projects and I wanted to pursue them. So I wanted more like a research position, but they gave me, like, in a year and a half time, this started from when I asked, they gave me this more like a lecture position. So that's what I am right now here. Yeah. So that's it.
Great. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Dimitri.
I have a quick question. Do you have a time frame that applicants should be applying, like a deadline?
That's a good point. I was going to put that in here. We were targeting February 14th, 13th. as the deadline for projects. About 2 weeks. Starting
2 weeks.
We're gonna shoot. It might be tough, but it's also 2 weeks.
If possible.
Well, the reason why we're trying to move that along is we want to give our students enough time to review and for us to review and make the match so here's the challenge. The reason why we do it earlier is because the longer time goes on, the more of our students find other internships and then may not be interested in ours. So the sooner we get these projects in front of our students, the more likely you are to have more hits. So, but sorry, I was going to have that in the slide and I totally forgot.
If you're not totally sure about the deadline, or if the deadline is too early for applicants to set in, when I talk about the pilot grants, maybe we could also, keep it somewhat rolling at some point.
Sure. I mean, we're not going to turn projects away.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get this process going as early as possible this year.
Okay.
And but hard deadlines, they don't actually exist except for the NIH. Definitely exists for that.
Can I ask you a few questions? First of all, I have to say that I love this program. I had a student last summer and I work with Joy. It's been a fantastic experience. So thank you for making it happen. So one question is about mentoring. So I was wondering whether you are open to having senior postdoctoral fellows, instructor, mentor program projects and students. Obviously, they are embedded in a lab, but we find that one of the thing that it's always hard for junior people who are trying to establish their group is to also start to recruit people, and they don't have their own funding, and so this seems to be possibly a very good opportunity for that. But I don't know if that works on your side.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the suggestion.
So if instead of being me submitting a program, it's a senior postdoc in the lab who has a project and they want to work with a master student, can they be the primary mentor?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, you don't have to be faculty. We will work with anyone who has a viable project, for sure.
The second question is, I wonder if there is a way, this is more of a question, is a comment. I wonder if there is a way in which we can facilitate the retention of these people at the end of the program, because I think my student was a good example. It's hard for PIs to put out really real position out sometimes and hire them as a research assistant, or so I think if there is a way to make them extend the internship, even if there is funding to be provided by the lab, but so that it's not a real hiring process.
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's a problem that I think about a lot too. And I do have an idea about that. It's still nascent. But one thing that I agree with you, the internships, they're only 10 weeks, they're 400 hours, they're very short. And to be honest, I think that they are short because that is, it allows our program to be completed in 1 year, which is a very attractive thing for our applicants. And we can't change that. However, the idea that I did have was to make a so-called MS Plus. And what this would look like, and again, this is all just, nothing is in stone here, it's just an idea that I had. It would where students who came through the program, and ideally who did BMSIP, would stay on for an additional year to work on either that project or other projects like it, and supported half and half by the lab and the bioinformatics master's program. So that it would be a part-time position, and the bioinformatics program, part of it would help to support the program. They've already taken all the classes, they would help to provide the mentorship for our students. And the other half, the half which would be contributed by the lab, or maybe multiple labs, or maybe a core, or something like that, would help support them on those projects. And I think one of the ways that we could, another challenge here is the cost. So one of the things that we struggle with in this space, I struggle with in this space, is that these skills are very highly sought after. They're very lucrative. And so there's lots of competition, maybe less so right now. There's not so many jobs out in industry that pay really well, but there are still lots of jobs that can pay way more than what we can offer. Having it as part of an MS Plus program means it would be an additional academic credential. It's additional training. So I'm hoping that that would be one more carrot. And for students who definitely want to go on to get a PhD, this would be an entire year of doing research in a lab and also getting training. So that's my idea for that. Because yeah, there's very few students can really get meaningful work done in 10 weeks. Like maybe 8 weeks goes by and they're just now starting to get up to momentum. So I would love to figure out how to do that, but we haven't figured it out yet.
That's a great idea.
So I prefer to give those students graduate in the December high priority than those students graduate in August. Because during the past 2 years, I have some experience. So when some students graduate in August, they spend more effort on job hunting rather than the effort for those 10-week projects. They probably spend 6 weeks for looking for the job and 2 weeks for something else, and finally the last 2 weeks try to finish the 10 weeks project. It's not fair for the program and also not fair to other students didn't get this opportunity, and not fair to the lab, right? We have to train them, and we only spend 2 weeks on the project. Also, last year I also have another student. She got the PhD offer in other state. Also, just like she's good, but she just stay here for 6 weeks. But the last 4 weeks, she has to move to another state and moving and getting going to basically just like 6 weeks.
Yeah, those are. I'm sorry to hear those stories because they definitely don't contribute to the promise of the BMSIP program for sure. And I think it's having incentives like an MS Plus, where students, when they come into the program, they know that they wouldn't just be necessarily a 10-week thing, that there's an opportunity for them to continue on after that, might incentivize, guard against those sorts of scenarios.
If it's like a way to be like a step in the door of a academic lab analyst, like let's say if you want to get into a lab in the fall to continue getting employed, doing the internship would be a way to get their foot in the door. Could that be sort of a tie-in to describing to the candidates which ones would be most likely to be selected, make the selection criteria more stringent for students that are willing to stay employed into a lab through December?
I think they have 2 graduation days, right?
Or they have 2 graduation
Yeah,
days?
like December or August. So my personal way, I prefer to let the student graduate in December to take the spot first, and then we will consider the one who graduate in August. Because they have to handle both, right? The job hunting and the summer project at the same time. It's also challenging for them.
Yeah, that's true. And that is a totally fair choice that you make to prioritize students who graduate in December. I think that's
That makes a lot of sense.
makes a lot of sense, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. So, because for the reasons that you say, then they can prioritize the project and really, make meaning out of the guidance and the mentorship and the time that you invest in those students. Because even though the program is paying their stipend, like the time still is one of the biggest investments
Yeah,
aspects of
especially
yourself.
this is a paid job, right? The program pays them as full-time internship. So theoretically, they should devote 100% effort on the project.
That is what we tell them.
Yes,
And if
but
we
as
stipulate
long as
that,
they are graduating in August, they have high pressure about the future job rather than accomplishment of this project.
Yeah, and we're having problems right now with internships out in industry have this stipulation now. They've had for the past 2 years, and they still do, which is interns must return to their program of origin after they finish the internship, which like rules out most of our students from taking those internships because they want to graduate in August, but if they were to stay on, go back to their program of origin, that would incur fees and they would have to take more classes. Like, it's just the structure isn't there. So I think I would like to think that the challenge that you encountered might have been related to that they weren't able to find a position, or it's harder to find a position, so it takes more time to do so. These are obviously not things that are in our control per se, but they're just factors that I think may contribute to what's happening in that sort of scenario. I'm very open to ideas about how we can guard against, how we can ensure that students focus on the project and again, respect the time and mentorship that people get. But that's a real challenge.
Yeah, to be honest, I like to mentor those students. I hope that if they can focus on like those 10 weeks project, definitely will benefit in the future. So I just got an email from Samia last year's student. He sent me an email like a week ago and thank you for your mentorship. Because the experience in your life for processing the single cell data, I got this job. I think it's very important. She just moved to New York, working for the Mount Sinai lab in Mount Sinai, although it's not an industry job, but still much higher pay, get much higher pay than the postdoc here. So I think it's worse if they can focus on the project rather than.
Yeah, I mean we do emphasize that this experience, it will get them jobs. Like what they learn, and from the mentorship especially, that will translate into them getting jobs. That experience will go through, and so they try to tempt them with the incentives as much as we can. And I think for every one, and this is over the past 4 years, and also I started here in 2016 doing something similar, and so I've been working with master's students for almost 10 years now. And for every one internship that doesn't quite come up to standards, there are at least 3 or 4 other ones that are just phenomenal. So I think it is we do need to guard against those things, but I don't think it's too. We can do it in a way that all ships rise.
Okay, thanks, Adam. For the last 20 minutes, I'm going to reiterate some of the successes of the BMSIP and how it's connected to the GSI, and then also talk about the pilot grants program that the GSI has been running for many years. One idea I was thinking about regarding with the BMSIP is maybe we could do some success story profiles. Like, for example, we could profile this student, Roxy Joshua Lee. She was a BMSIP student who also graduated in December, and then I hired her as an analyst, and within a year she is a co-author on a paper we got accepted to Cell Reports. So I think that she's been extremely successful, and we just should highlight these students that then go on to academic labs to be employed as successful scientists. I'd like to again highlight everyone to keep in mind our GSI seminar series, and if you're watching this live stream, you can connect to it on this link over here. I know it's a little bit tiny, but we'll try to emphasize this. You can be directed to this YouTube page to see this live stream for this video again. And the BMSIP is featured as part of our GSI educational partnerships over here. So the BMSIP is over here, and the link here will direct you to the website over here. We'll try to emphasize the deadlines for when the application should be, and we'll continue advertising those. Once you have a deadline set, one deadline to keep in mind is March 28th. This is when we will cut off the acceptance of applications for the pilot grant competition. We do this all the time in the spring, and we generally have a pool of money to distribute to GSI faculty labs to conduct pilot experiments in collaboration with the Microarray and Sequencing Core, directed by Yuri Alexeyev here in the audience. We would like to encourage GSI labs to try out an experiment that follows the themes. We have themes each year. This year's themes have been directed at 2 companies that I've presented in our GSI seminar series. So if you go back to the seminar series, here you can see, we had Singular Genomics, Active Motif, and Illumina present, and you can watch their videos again back on these live streams here from when they presented their technologies. And so we're kind of encouraging applications to make use of their technologies. In this case, we have one award that we'd like to target to Active Motif. One idea is that if you can see some sort of technology here on their product page, write that into your application. We're targeting the amounts of the awards between 10 to 20,000. So we haven't decided yet, whether to do 10,000 awards, 15,000 K awards, or 20K awards. Kind of that depends on how many applications we get and what the scope is of the project is. But try to tailor your application towards asking for that kind of amount. Active Motif is one company that we're thinking of partnering with for trying out any of one of their technologies. Of course, our other company partnership is with Illumina, because they provide a lot of perks and promotions to the Microarray Sequencing Core that Yuri has good connections with, their sales reps, and they presented a new single-cell sequencing technology from Fluid Biosciences. I think it's this type of single-cell 3' RNA prep methodology. It's essentially a instrument-free type of way of doing single-cell sequencing through encapsulation of cells in some sort of emulsion and then doing the library prep and sequencing. Are they doing any promotions, or are we just we're trying them out?
We can try and negotiate. I'm sure they will be, before they were funding a lot of projects and giving us a lot of free reagents. So I hope this will not be different. So depending on that, the amount of awards can be also
increased. Yeah.
If I'm successful in negotiating.
Okay. So yeah, so we're definitely encouraging applications to target these 2 vendors because of their interest in partnering with the GSI. So if you can tailor your application towards trying these technologies, you have a higher likelihood of getting selected for funding. But we're also keeping in mind an open evaluation to also open-ended awards that you can spend here on the Medical Campus. So one thing that a couple research fellows have asked is that can they apply for one of these grants if they are not a faculty member? If they can partner with a GSI faculty member, they can apply through that collaboration. So, on the GSI website, you go over to membership and faculty, you can see all the list of current faculty members that are affiliated with the GSI. If you're not on this list, you can write to the GSI and apply. If you're a research fellow that would like to try to apply for one of these awards, you can partner with the GSI faculty member to put in that application. Just put that in. And then if you get the award, you'll be awarded through the GSI faculty member, because we have to, disperse the money to a faculty member that has an account here at BU. You can find archives of all our pilot grant announcements here from previous awards. And then if you go to the news sites over here under news, you can see who has won these awards in the past. So, previous years we've awarded up to like 9 awards in one session. We try to disperse as many awards as possible to as many applications. So funding success rate is pretty good. We need to decide how many applications we get, what kind of amounts we're going to send, and we are going to be more open this year to awards that are more open-ended, that don't necessarily just use one of the vendors that are part of our theme. But at least some of the awards will go to those two vendors, Active Motif and Illumina, through their Fluent Bioscience platform. You have some other technology, some other approach that involves genomics. Anything that uses a BU core, super highly encouraged, because we want to keep the funding going and keeping within our ecosystem to support all the research cores here. Those will also be favorably reviewed. My co-director, Rachel Flynn, will help with organizing the review of these pilot grant applications. We get other faculty members within the GSI outside of just the core GSI faculty to review these grants and view them on merit, likelihood of success, fitting with the theme, having a good scope to be completed within a year. These are the things that we are looking for with these type of pilot grants. We'd like you to be able to achieve and get your results within a fiscal year so that you can then use that to apply for other future awards. And then also we'd like to encourage applicants to present their findings at the GSI Symposium that we host every year in November. So it's when you're writing that application, design the experiment in the scope that it can be accomplished within a year. Likely you don't have to get it done by the next GSI Symposium, but at some point, if you get successful results, we'd like you to present those successful results in a GSI Symposium. And even in the GSI Symposium, your trainees can also then compete for further research support through either a grand prize award or a poster award. So our mandate with the GSI is to promote genetics and genomics research. We have some funds to help GSI labs pursue projects that they don't yet have pilot funding to try out. So please apply for this. Keep in mind again, the deadline is March 28th. That's a Friday. It's a maximum 2-page application. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a super demanding application. Stress what kind of technology you want to pursue, what kind of theme that project is directed at, have the right scope that it can be accomplished within a year. And also give some ballpark range of how much your project would cost. And if you follow these application instructions, we'll be able to get back to you by the end of April for the selection of the awardees, and then money will be starting to be dispensed in May. And we'd like you to try to get the projects done within a full year, so that then you can maybe present some of those findings in the symposium in November. If there are other questions, contact the GSI. People viewing online, reach out to the GSI at bu.edu email. Also, if you have other questions about the Illumina Fluent Bioscience technology, please contact Yuri Alexiev in the Microarray and Sequencing Core resource, and you can also provide some guidance on how to tailor a good application. It doesn't have to be super onerous. This is an application that's just maximum 2 pages. You can include some figures. If you've been awarded a GSI pilot grant in the past, that doesn't exclude you. We are looking for interesting projects. You can get funded simultaneous years, but we do want to see originality, something a little bit different from your previous awards. We're also more receptive to applicants that haven't received GSI funding in the past. So, this is a really great opportunity to try out a novel idea with the GSI and pursuing a genomics project. And we're here to facilitate your research, not only to creating that data, but also analyzing that data through accessing some of the students that would be coming through the BMSIP. I think we should make it clear to faculty that this program will help bring a bioinformatics student to your lab at very little cost, and then you can find this as a way of finding recruiting talent to then continuing with the analysis of your projects. So, you know, we have a lot of bioinformatics demand on this campus, but connecting to the right person is tricky, and evaluating talent can also be tricky without, you know, kind of face-to-face interaction. So I think this BMSIP program is extremely valuable for GSI faculty to be able to evaluate what could be a potentially good candidate, or find out maybe, you know, that student is not fitting your project. Either way, I think, you know, you should apply to this as well as to the GSI pilot grant and help that, you know, move forward with your research. Any questions from the audience or online? Do we have any online questions? Yeah. Okay, so here, OA Buffer is asking, do we need to reach out to bioinformatics people before the deadline in order to submit projects?
No.
Okay.
You may.
Yeah, you could definitely reach out to Adam, but you don't have to. I think you envision there'll be a lot more students applying this year versus previous years?
It's unclear, I think. Here's probably shouldn't share this thought, but
I'm going to anyway.
I'm going to anyway, because we're all in the same. Yeah, I'm just trying to. It's a little big. The earlier you submit a BMSIP project, the more likely you're going to get applicants who are genuinely interested in academic research. The later the project gets and the more our students start to feel pressure that they're not finding, let's say, the internship, the industry internships that they're looking for, the more likely that they are to start applying to them. That's probably shouldn't say this. This isn't being recorded, right?
It is.
Yeah. Oh, it's being. Oh, we'll fix it in post, right?
Well, I think we could highlight the success stories, like Roxy. It was a BMSIP intern, and then you know, working with Chao Zhang. Then I hired her into my lab right after she graduated, and she's continued working on genomics projects in my lab, and is now going to be a co-author on a paper in Cell Reports. And that's an academic track that has been extremely successful. And so we want to encourage more of those students, showing them there's this career path, this career arc that they could pursue. And so if they find that attractive, they should be matched up with a project as soon as possible. So the earlier you can put in your application, the better.
Yes. Yep.
And those students, their stipend is going to be supported from the bioinformatics program and the GSI. So for the GSI faculty applying, they don't have to pay a thing over the summer, right? All you have to contribute is your time and explaining your project and interfacing with the student, providing that one-on-one interaction, and you essentially get subsidized effort, to your analysis. I think it's definitely a win-win for both the student and the faculty in this situation. The university, the GSI is footing the bill through the summer. After the summer, if you find that student is worthy of employment in your lab, hopefully you'll generate enough data to get a successful grant and then be able to hire that student. I think this is really critical to finding good talent, because I've put out job opening ads for bioinformatician students, and lately I've been getting flooded with a lot of applications, but a lot of those resumes look all the same. It's really hard to discern who are the students with a real proclivity to working on academic data sets. You know, they list all these programs, but in terms of actually having that acumen to pick up an academic project and carry it through to generating publishable data, that's harder to assess unless you can actually interact with that student for a couple of weeks during this internship. So I think that's really you know, the key benefit of this program. Are there any other questions?
It says, I thought Adam mentioned a deadline of February 14th. What was that for?
That's not set in stone. We'll communicate an actual deadline to make sure that it's clear.
I mean, it could be connected to this one too. We have this one that we're going to blast for the pilot grant. And since the applications will be coming through BMSIP and GSI, Sabina can help collate all those and organize those together.
Yeah, that would be great. But no, there's no set deadline for applications right now.
Do we have to wait until the deadline to reach out? If, for example, I post my project and students see the project, and they could they just start to reach out to me and talk to me. If I think, oh, this student is good, I don't want like wasting time to interview other students. And the students think, oh, I just want to work for this. Do we have to start after deadline, or as long as I post it, we can start it?
I'll think about that.
Okay.
I want to make sure we're balancing like opportunity, because also if you do wait and you get a set of applicants all at once, you may get connected with someone that you might not have otherwise.
Okay.
That might be preferable to someone that you meet right away. So I'm not saying no. I just would like to think about it for a bit.
Just devil's advocate, it might also start that vicious cycle we have, like at least in the world of PhD students doing lab rotations, where then it becomes like the earlier reach out, the greater chance you are to be with, and then it's sort of like a trickle back effect where people are now contacting you in like, you know, November because they want to do this BMSIP thing in May. So just like,
Yeah, you're right. That's
a
what,
potential caveat.
yeah,
May not happen, but
exactly. Yeah, no, good thought. Right. That's why I kind of wanted to think about it, because that might add perverse incentives to certain types of patterns that we want to avoid. I'll think about that. I had an idea about how to just now guard against this, like students taking up an inordinate amount of their internship time looking for jobs. If we can extend it to 12 calendar weeks, then that would give them like a couple hours on average a week to devote to that. So the expectation, they would still have more time to do it. And so we could build that into the program to sort of, and then make it really clear. It's like, we expect you to work at least 30 hours a week. If they have to take, or like, 4 days or something, and if they have to take an extra day to go do a thing over the 12 weeks rather than the 10 weeks, that might help guard against that challenge that you faced. So we'll think about that too.
All right, if there are no other questions, thanks everyone here in attendance as well as online. Keep an eye out for future GSI seminars in March, April, and May. And